لبيك اللهم لبيك لبيك لا شريك لك لبيك إن الحمد والنعمة لك والملك لا شريك لك.
So sometimes we may suffer upon calling people to the oneness of the Almighty Allah, because you have people who are, really delved into this belief, and they're like, no, I believe in the Trinity, and I was raised up with that and brought up with that. You can't just come to me and say that there is one God who created everything. So, and this is where patience stands in, right? Yeah. The da'i, the one calling to Islam, he has to embrace certain qualities when he approaches the non-Muslim, before he approaches the non-Muslim, right? He has to be really prepared. I mean, when a da'i stands up and calls people to Islam without the Islamic knowledge, what's going to happen?
To be embarrassed.
He'll be embarrassed, he'll ruin the message, or he'll ruin the da'wah instead of, bringing it forward. What else?
He might take that person away from Islam forever.
Exactly, he may push him away instead of bringing him closer to Islam.
I think there is the fact that when we're speaking to a Christian, we need to emphasize, and one of those is that the word Bible itself does not exist in the Bible. The Bible, it comes from Biblios, which is later on, and also the second aspect is the word Christianity does not exist in the Bible. This is a concept that came much, much later on, more than 100 years after the death of Jesus Christ himself. Trinity, the word, does not exist nowhere in the Bible. This is also an invention, not by a man, by a whole conference. The Conference of Nicaea, that's where it came, this concept of Trinity, and it was imposed. This is a political imposition, not a religious one. So this is something that we need to emphasize. The last thing that I would like to say, it clearly shows in the Bible that Jesus Christ, on many occasions, one of them was in the garden before he was called. Yes. He was called to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He fell down, he prostrated, and he prayed. We can ask, who did he pray to? If in fact he's God, he's not going to pray to somebody else. So this clearly shows that there is a supreme being besides him.
Yeah, this really makes a lot of sense, and in Matthew it does mention that. But what I like to do when I approach the non-Muslim Christian, I don't like to talk about his Bible much. I want to show him what Islam is about, right? So one way for me to share the message is to get right into the topic. What is that? What do we Muslims do? We do 5 main things. If we do these things, inshallah, first class ticket to Jannah. Do you know what that is? The 5 pillars of Islam. So that's the message of Islam, Once you get into that and you share that with him, you don't have to argue a lot about, Jesus or Mary or all of that. You just get direct into the message. And what is that? The first one is the testimony of faith. Testimony of faith. La ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasulullah. If they understand this, they'll be understanding so much. And one thing they don't know is that when we testify that there is no God besides Allah and Muhammad is the messenger of Allah, that erases all of our previous sins. And by doing so, we accept Jesus. And by doing so, we accept Moses. And we accept all the other messengers and the prophets. Why? Because we testify that Muhammad is the last messenger. Meaning, before him there were messengers. And these messengers and prophets were sent by Allah. And amongst these messengers and prophets are Jesus, Adam, Noah, Abraham, Moses, you name it. And these prophets all had one message. What is that? Worship one God.
لبيك اللهم لبيك لبيك لا شريك لك لبيك إن الحمد والنعمة لك والملك لا شريك